I'm a business owner and I don't really know anything about paid ads.
And I've been successful running our ads as a business owner, so I'm going to share everything I know with Lucy today in this meeting.
So yeah, let me pepper you with all the questions I have about paid ads.
As a small business owner, I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, what do I do with our ads? But we've gone through maybe 4 or 5 agencies now, and we've decided to do it in-house. So we wanted to share with you everything that we've learned on doing that. And I'm going to do that by sharing it with Lucy.
Nice, let's dive in. So, do paid ads actually work, or is Mark Zuckerberg taking us all for a ride?
Yeah, well, we actually turned our ads off, not by design, but by mistake. When we actually went back to Australia and we put our UK credit card details in from Australia, and so Facebook thought we were hacked. Ridiculously, we couldn't get back access to our account for like a month. So we actually had kind of like a forced experiment of what it's like without ads for that period of time. And so we were kind of sitting there just thinking, what are we going to do? As we were just watching our revenue plummet like this. And so I think the long and the short of it is it's hard to see them working exactly right now that the attribution has just been absolutely destroyed, but it does work. And we know that from that forced experiment, and you also know it from the rest of the industry. It can be sometimes hard to kind of think, oh, actually, do I just trust ads that they're working, and do I just put more and more money in? And the long and the short of it is, I think you've got to put a decent amount in, but you've got to put an amount in that is working for you.
But I hear, quite a few other business owners that have done well organically, and they kind of famously say, I haven't spent a penny, quite smugly, I think, on Facebook. And I'm like, damn you, I've spent hundreds of thousands. So yeah, can you do it without?
Probably. But I think some brands, like, they talk a big shot and they're the ones that you actually hear about, but you don't hear about, the kind of 10 or 20 times more people that are doing some type of like normal e-commerce advertising. And so I'm just surprised that like they continue to exist, but I think it's just because it's so sexy. Like, wait, I can get reach without spending any money. Sure, you probably can, but they probably spend a lot of money on the organic side of things.
Well, that's the thing. I think maybe the answer is both, because we do both. We have kind of organic stuff going on, like the SEO, I guess the stuff that is for free, but is it for free because it takes your time, and the paid ads as well. So it's probably like a happy medium.
Yeah, and I think there's probably, you're hearing less and less stories of people going viral organically outside of maybe like a TikTok. So, back in the day, you could build up 1 million followers just by posting every day and putting heaps of, hashtags on your Instagram posts, but now you can't do that. So it's just kind of, I guess, part of the course. And I can't imagine that, Google, Facebook, any, company that's running advertising is going to let you continue to get away without paying for reach. Like, it's in their best interest to pay for more reach. So I think you've got to get good at doing ads, and you have to get comfortable, I guess, kind of spending and earning.
Okay, so we've got the heavyweight fight, Facebook versus Google. Which is better?
There's definitely not better, but that's such a cop-out answer. If I ever had to say one was better, Facebook's pretty easy, but Google we've never had any problems with. So that's probably like the biggest thing.
So when I say better, I guess there's a few things, like which has been better for us, but also it sounds like one is easier to use, but one is, one might be cheaper. Like, can you talk us through like the differences?
Yeah, so typically Google has been more like, I guess, on the conversion end. So if you spend more on like the pay-per-click, you're kind of just mopping up all the traffic that you've already generated. And that works really well if you've got heaps of people talking about you. So you could spend nothing on Facebook if you had a massive press campaign and you had a massive amount of like organic traffic like you're mentioning, and then you just mop it all up with Google. But then you're probably not going to be generating as much traffic as you could. Whereas if you're also running Facebook, which is probably more closer to awareness because you're starting to get your brand out there, you're sharing it with a wider variety of people. They're not just searching for bamboo socks, which is, probably a relatively small audience, but there's probably heaps of people that, want bamboo socks, don't even realize they're bamboo socks. They just love the fact that we've got animal socks. So they're very different. One gets your name out there in Facebook, one kind of like makes the best use of once your name's out there with Google. I think the main thing is that knowing which is the best is getting like harder and harder. And so we were looking at our stats the other day, and it's crazy because we see all of this traffic coming to us direct, but there's no way it's all coming to us direct. It's probably mostly coming from social media because our social media has also dropped in terms of the amount of people that are clicking from social media and arriving at our website. And that's just because that attribution is just absolutely trashed.
And that's the key word, attribution. I'm hearing it everywhere. What has happened, basically? Because these ads used to work much better for us. What has happened that has caused this kind of crash in how these ads are working?
Apple's just gone on a vendetta on just destroying advertising. It's mad because what they do themselves is they call it personalization when they do targeted ads, but when anyone else does targeted ads, it's tracking and privacy. I think it's ridiculous. I don't know why there isn't someone sitting there kind of being like, actually, no, there's a small business lobby that says, no, we need this tracking, because we're not sitting there as Cambridge Analytica, as
no,
bare
we're not
kind.
Harvesting the data. We just want to get the right ads in the right
trying to get them to
people.
vote for Biden or Trump or something. And so we're sitting
political socks. That's next.
I think which is a joke, but basically in iOS 14 and then more recently, Apple is about to also strip out UTMs, but Apple's making it really, really hard for you to track people across the internet. And that sounds bad because all it is just track people that have clicked your link. And then you can say, okay, this person clicked my link, 2 days ago, and then they went on and purchased. Oh, great. I want to advertise more to that person because they're more likely to purchase. And that's why, I don't know if you've noticed, but my ads, for example, are just starting to become really weird. Like I would never click on some of the ads that I see now in my feed and that type of thing because it's not relevant. So yeah, attribution just allows advertisers like us or small businesses to send you relevant ads.
Okay. Well, I know Tim Cook is an avid listener of our channel, so can you please sort it out? We
Thanks,
appreciate
Tim.
it.
Appreciate it, mate. That's good. Yeah. We'll see you at the pub later, yeah?
Okay, so we've mentioned this on the podcast before that we're a very seasonal business, 60% of our revenue coming in November and December. So what if we just switched off advertising throughout the rest of the year and just kind of took that hit and spent a bit less?
So we actually spoke to a chief marketing officer of Ryman's and we said that and we were like, this is just not working for us. Like, what do we do? And she was like, you think that, but when you really start to think like, I guess more broadly, you're going to learn a few things. Number one is that big companies spend a smaller percentage of their revenue on marketing. Small companies spend a lot of money on marketing, which basically is a way of saying the more money you spend, the more bang for buck you get. So it's actually better to spend more on marketing, which is quite cool to think about. The second thing is then, we were forced to turn off marketing and it didn't work for us during that Australian period where Facebook thought our credit cards were hacked. And so we're kind of sitting there, I guess, stuck. We can't scale it, but you need to be continuing getting out with new customers. You need to be showing your brand to more people, and you need to be reminding your current customers that you're still around and being kind of like top of mind. So our personal view is like we haven't been able to do anything to scale our ads, but I think we've been more focused on getting our operations right this year compared to last year. So making sure we're profitable with all of our shipping and making sure we've got the right, set up with all of the emails that we're collecting from customers and then how we speak with customers and really trying to nail down what our audiences are. And then I think next year, we'll probably think about spending a bit more on marketing. So we're kind of set on that budget level of like $1,500, $2,000.
Yeah. And isn't it a thing that I've heard from people in the industry that you shouldn't turn your ads off because then they're not learning anything and you can't just switch them back on and expect to get to the same place. You have to build up to the Christmas period. Is that right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, people always say this, but I mean, that's always from an agency. It's like, you can't turn it off. You have to spend more. It's just like, it's working, but it's not. Like, pray with us. And I just think, you need to be making money as a small business. Like, cash is like air. If you don't have any, you're dead. And so we're kind of sitting there just thinking like, what? This isn't working. We'll just probably not do that then. So you've really got to make sure that you're spending in a profitable way, that you're not going crazy. In answer to your question for do you continue to spend even when there's nothing around because you need to keep that, ad pixel seasoned is kind of what they say. And the answer is probably it's not that bad. Facebook's getting better and better. If you use existing ads and existing audiences, you can just kind of turn them back on, but it's not going to be as good because people will have seen your ad recently and then they see it again and they see it a couple more days later.
There's momentum.
Yeah. So I think it's less about the ad and more about the person watching the ad.
Okay. And I think this is a good time to move on to the question I've got around outsourcing. So we have outsourced this in the past. As you mentioned, we've used some agencies, freelancers, we've had advice from all kinds of people, but we're now doing it in-house. Discuss. For us, it's just been about cost and scale. So we're spending about $2,000 a month
every month across, Jan to September. And there's no point then adding £750 or £1,000, £2,000 on an agency, because they're just not going to be able to do anything with the spend levels that we've got. So we've also just kind of said, okay, look, we're going to bring this in-house. We're going to go as lean as possible and kind of strip out that cost. Because if you're adding in, double the amount on your media spend by buying an agency, then you have to be double as profitable on your ad spend, which no one is going to be able to do. Everyone's using the same tools. Every agency we speak to always suggests the same thing. They go, oh yeah, well, what's working at the moment is broad, no targeting, just let Facebook do its thing and aim for conversions. And like, I can do that. Anyone can do that setup. And that's what Facebook's platform has been, optimized to make it easier and easier for small businesses to run their own ads. So I'm not like absolutely set that agencies are delivering heaps of value for small number of, spend. And then the next part for me as well is like, we've gone through 4 different agencies now, I think.
Something like that.
And every single one eventually gets to the same point that they're just like, talk about your USP. And our USP is that our socks save animals. And that's what we talk about in our ads, and that's what works. And agencies, I think, have a need to show you that they're doing work, but it doesn't matter. The only thing that works for us is our USP of saving animals, put our sock in it, make it nature focused, and then they're the ads that do best, and then add in more and more spend on that one ad so you get heaps of social proof. And no agency has beaten that formula, and they're all the ads that we've made ourselves.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of sitting there thinking, okay, maybe it's not an agency, but maybe as we get bigger with spend, we can go a bit more diverse. Maybe we can bring new content in, but at the moment, I think it's just like cost and scale. So if I'm speaking to any other business owner, I'm seeing like, if you're spending less than a couple grand, don't bring in an agency. You've got to do it yourself. Go simple, but you're not going to be able to, double your ROAS because you've got an agency involved. But if you're spending, 10, 20, 30 plus K a month, then maybe you could.
Okay, so we're making the ads ourselves. So my next question is, how often should we be making new ads?
I think agencies say like all the time, basically just like drop in more and more every week, 2 weeks. But what we see is our best ads are the ads that have continued to run for years. And we've just added in more spend, and we've got more comments and more shares and likes. And so we're probably just at this space where we're just trying to like build up a kind of a core set of like really good winning ads and just continue to let them spend up year on year.
And what should we budget for ads, do you think?
So we've set a budget after talking to that Ryman's chief marketing officer of around 10% of revenue. So we're spending about $1,000 to $2,000, depending on the month, on our ads. And at the moment, I think it's about $2,000 a month. And the reason why we're doing that is kind of what I was mentioning about the big business versus small business. So as a small business, you've got to spend a lot more as a percentage of revenue on ads because you need people to see you and get out there. But big businesses don't need to spend as much. So that's kind of how we're thinking about it. Hopefully, as we grow, we can kind of spend a slightly smaller amount as we kind of grow as a percentage of revenue. But that's what we're doing at the moment.
Okay. And how do you know if the ads are working? What does success look like?
So we are like obsessed with ROAS. And everyone I speak to from like a financial perspective, we met with the friendly CFO the other day, and she was like, yeah, ROAS, as a finance person talking about marketing. And so that's what we're thinking. Return on ad spend. How much money do we put in the machine and how much does it spit out? And at the moment, as long as you're kind of above like 3 to 4, which seems to be around the like industry average. In COVID, it was like 9 to 10. It was going crazy. And so that's not happening anymore. But as long as you're kind of getting something that's profitable for you, you're going to be okay.
Wow, amazing. Bring that back.
Bring it back.
Without the pandemic. Just the ROAS.
Just the ROAS.
Not the COVID. Don't bring that back. Okay, so what kind of campaigns are we running at the moment? What are your plans of types of campaigns at Christmas? Do you change it?
So we're running, at least this is kind of the advice that we've received before from the big boys and girls from the industry, was we're spending 70% of our budget on awareness ads, so kind of going broad, sharing it with new customers, that type of thing, and 30% on people that are around conversion ads. So we use a lot of Performance Max campaigns, and we use Facebook with a conversion targeting campaign that is basically going out to every man and his dog, and we're just putting the money in the Facebook black box and letting it work. And then we do a little bit on like search campaigns. So the big three for us is Performance Max and Facebook's conversion campaigns, and then obviously you've got some search campaigns to kind of try and mop it all up. at the end. So really 3 campaigns, and you can add as much assets as you want into that. Give it a bit of time, and Google will do its thing. Facebook will do its thing.
Will you change anything during busy season?
Probably just the amount of money and maybe the different type of designs that we're using. So we'll talk more about like gifting, more about like, Christmas being sorted, that type of stuff. So that's at least the idea. Yeah, stocking fillers.
Nice. Okay. And should we be using all the ad platforms available? Why just Facebook and Google right now?
Oh my God. Seriously, some of these platforms are trash. Not using any names, but it rhymes with Pinterest.
No, you just said it.
Wait, is that not how you do it? Oh, oops. Yeah, Pinterest is like, we've tried so much with Pinterest. We think it should work, but it just doesn't. And every ad agency we speak to says the same thing. They have some clients that do really well, but that's like a dime a dozen. We then do Facebook, and we also have Etsy as well. And then in our core period, when we get a lot of traffic, we'll also chuck some money on Microsoft as well, because we'll have a lot more on the awareness as well. And then don't write off like the old school channels, like TV, radio. If you can get on there, you can like get across like such a large audience, and it could be really good for you.
Thoughts on TikTok?
TikTok is good. You can still get some organic traffic on it. People are talking a lot about it, but it's a bit more involved in terms of like the amount of work you need to do to get a good creative that's really smashing for it. So for us, I'm not really sure like, what our I guess our ad creative would be on the TikTok side of things. A bit harder as like a sock product. Maybe in Christmas we could get around like the gifting type of style, but yeah, at the moment I'm still to be seen.
For me on TikTok, it's one of those, and because I get asked, do you use TikTok? Do you do organic content? Not really. It's a time thing. We've tried now and then, and I think I just props to people that are doing it well, because it's really hard to make that content like engaging. There's so much out there, so you've really got to kind of get people's eyeballs on and keep them. It's really difficult. So yeah, I think it's a case of maybe if we sat down and prioritized and said, right, this month we're just focusing on getting some really cool TikTok content out there, maybe we'd move the needle, but we just don't have time at the moment. Facebook and Google seems to be working for us. As you said, we've gone old school before, we've done radio ads. So I'm not knocking it, because I think people can do really well on there, but it's hard for us, I think. And I think you're right. Like right now, I can't think of a really good way of making the content that's relevant to the audience on the channel and our product. I'm not saying there is a solution, but we just haven't had a chance to do it.
Yeah, we haven't got it right. And I think like there's some good channels out there that are a bit smaller, like Etsy, for example. And I think it's just been a nice money spinner. You put a couple pounds in a day and you get kind of 5 times that back in sales. And I think we do even better if we had an Etsy like USA store as well, or like a USA distributor or a warehouse, because we'd be able to just go straight in there. It'd be really quick shipping, because at the moment you've got to pay an arm and a leg for our shipping on Etsy.
Yeah, nice. Okay. So where do you go if you ever need help on ads?
This is a cheeky one, and I always go back out to agencies and ask them like, hey guys, like, what are you seeing at the moment? And then they'll tell you their best ideas, and you just go off and implement it.
Oh God, that's so sneaky.
But
that's their pitch, isn't it?
That's their pitch. Like, I mean, I'm still yet to hear anyone come to me and say something that we haven't yet tried, or it's just a small iteration of like what we've already tried, and then they want to charge a couple grand for it. Like, I don't buy it.
It's tough. I think it's really tough for agencies out there at the moment.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? There's so many of them, and Facebook is like crumbling in terms of the ad spend. So, or the return on ad spend anyway.
Absolutely.
And nowhere else. I feel like you have chats with Facebook directly, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. We have a chat with Facebook through like their marketing pros, and they just kind of like walk you through. If you're spending a decent amount of money on Facebook, you can speak to these people on a relatively regular basis, like every kind of 2, 3, 4 weeks. And they're really good to kind of like, nudge you on like, this isn't working super well, change what we're seeing is working well, is this, or try a shopping campaign and all that type of stuff. So they're kind of like gently needling you to try, Facebook's products, but you just got to stay with the core. Like, is it profitable or not? Let it run, try and experiment and see how it goes.
So it's interesting you've taken value from those calls, because they initially come to me. I get like a cold call from someone from Facebook, and I'm like, whatever, please leave me alone. Like, just assume it's like a real salesy call. But then you've actually taken it and kind of had those ongoing conversations and taken value from it. So I'd say don't dismiss it. It's not necessarily a sales call. I mean, it can be. They want you to spend more with them, right? Yeah. They want you to spend more with them, right? But I think they are also there to help. Yeah,
I think most companies, as long as like you're really got your hand on the till of like, are we spending too much or not, then take it. Like it's not going to force you to forget something. Like it just helps you. You know? So yeah, would recommend that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Good Q&A.
Good. So thanks everyone for watching today. Hope it was useful, especially for small business owners. Like, you can run ads yourself, and we definitely recommend that you do it if you're relatively small. Getting an agency involved at this stage, if you're kind of under £1 million of revenue, is hard to really justify, and that's because of that return on ad spend is just not going to be doubled by bringing in an agency. So we'd highly recommend you give it a crack yourself. Try Facebook, try Google. And of course, if you liked this, you'll like all of our other content that we've done, every single video without doubt in my mind. So like, subscribe, and follow for more.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.